Welcome to Vegas Circle Podcast with your hosts, Paki and Chris. We are people who are passionate about business, success, and culture, and this is our platform to showcase the people in our city who made it happen. On today's podcast, we're going to be discussing what it takes to be a CEO of a hotel and casino, and we've got the CEO of Plaza Hotel. We got Mr. Jonathan Jossel, man. So welcome to the Circle, brother.
Great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you, man. Been wanting to do this for a while, man. We got a chance to connect back on 4th of July. Got a chance to see, what the Plaza is all about. You gave me a tour with my family and everything, and it was just awesome hospitality. But we want to just kind of jump right in, man. So you originally are from South Africa, and you grew up in London. So how did you end up in Vegas? And you were just in London, from my understanding.
Yeah, I just got back from London last night.
Okay.
And then I was there with the family for some holiday time right after July 4th, after I saw you, and we have to talk about the fireworks.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll talk about that a little later on. But to answer your question, I was born in South Africa.
Okay.
My accent is all over the place, so good luck to figuring it out. But I was born in South Africa, lived there for 6 years, then with my family moved to London.
Okay.
Lived in London until I was 23. Went to university in London, just outside London, a place called Birmingham. You ever been there?
I'm going to get punched by my wife, but I dated somebody from UK for a little while in Hertfordshire, actually.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, I know, but South Africa is like, in just Africa in general, is one of my number one places I want to go to. I've never been.
You got to get there.
Yeah. I just want to go see Black Coffee, if you know who Black Coffee is.
I know Black Coffee is.
I want to see him.
In fact,
100%.
I was just talking to one of my friends. He was just performing in Cape Town.
Wow.
When we were there last year, he was performing there, and then someone else was just saying they went to see him. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
amazing.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Doesn't he play in Vegas?
He does. He's got residency. Yeah, he's got residency at Wynn. I've seen him multiple times. Yeah, he's amazing. Amazing.
So anyway, I moved to London and I went to university in Birmingham, and I always loved gambling. I enjoyed sports betting, poker. If you could bet on it, I was interested in it. Just as a kid. I don't know where it came from. And the psychology of that and the business behind that was always interesting to me. And so when I was at university, I was doing my thesis on the gambling industry in the UK and what would happen if, from a business case study, what would happen if, it was literally called, what would happen if Las Vegas style casinos opened up in the UK? And that was 2003. And then I was writing that thesis, and during that process, one of my family friends, my parents' friends, was at a luncheon that they were at, and I was talking to him. He said, "What are you doing?" I told him what the name of my thesis was, and he said, "Oh, I just bought 6 casinos in downtown Las Vegas." And I was like, "Holy shit!" Not every
Go ahead. Go ahead.
not every day you meet someone who says that. So I was
Yeah.
like, "What are you talking about?" And he told me what he had done, and his idea was he knew nothing about gambling and casinos. Or the business of them, I should say. But he had invested in Times Square in 1990 with the same idea of the area's neglected, it's bad, I'm going to invest there and wait for the area to clean up. And Times Square was super successful.
Wow.
He had the same vision for downtown Las Vegas. I don't know if either of you ever went to Times Square in the 80s.
Yeah.
But
I didn't go in the 80s.
No, in the 80s.
Yeah,
in the
not
80s
at all.
and 90s, it was
Yeah.
a bad place.
Yeah.
Not that I ever went there, but allegedly. And it got cleaned up, and now it's arguably the center of America in terms of tourism. And so his motto was, let's do that in downtown Las Vegas. So I asked him for work experience, came out to Vegas in 2005, and I was barely 21. Wow. And I lived in the Plaza. And
You lived in the Plaza?
I lived in the Plaza.
Oh, wow.
But let me tell you, no,
Yeah.
it wasn't wow.
Okay.
Plaza,
It was rough. It
was
I know,
rough.
yeah.
And not just the Plaza, downtown as a whole.
I know.
Was,
Yeah.
2005, there was nothing going on. And as a 21-year-old,
Yeah.
as a kid, basically, I was living in the Plaza, nothing that I didn't have the vision, I have to say. I didn't have the vision he had.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, at least as a 21-year-old, I thought, no, this is an interesting project, but I can't live here. And I did about 4 weeks.
Okay.
And then I called him, I said, thank you, but no thank you. And I left, but the people I worked with for that 4 weeks, I'd stayed in touch with out of his other offices. And at the end of university, they ended up offering me a job.
Okay.
But I was working them in London, New York, basically for 2 years. And one day he walks into the office and he says, downtown Vegas has changed. You need to go back out there because you're the only person who works for me that isn't married, doesn't have a house, doesn't have kids. I need someone on the ground there. It's not doing well at all. We need someone out there. And I was 23, just broken up with my girlfriend, thinking, what could I do with my life? And I was like, what have I got to lose?
Roll
2 years
the
ago,
dice.
it wasn't good, but I'll roll the dice.
Yeah.
So I came out here, and day I landed here, I ended up at a bar called the Downtown Cocktail Room. I don't know if either of you are familiar with it.
No, I'm not familiar with it. Yeah.
Really? It's
Downtown cocktail room?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a staple of, it's basically, with that and Beauty Bar, there are only 2 bars that
I'm kind of
existed.
disappointed. Yeah,
A
Vegas
beauty bar.
Okay, beauty bar.
I have to say I'm disappointed as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel horrible. You Vegas Circle, we don't even know.
Paki,
Yeah.
he goes to.
Yeah,
He
you got to know.
Strip.
You got to go to downtown
often.
Cocktail. But to be
Yeah.
fair, I haven't been there in many years. But back in 2007, it was that and Beauty Bar were the only places in downtown. So I ended up there. The day I landed, this guy said, "Hey," at the hotel. I didn't know one person when I landed in Vegas, and someone who was working at the Plaza said, "Hey, there's this bar called Downtown Cocktail Room, just opened last month. We should go there. They do a happy hour." And I was like, "Okay." Go there, and there's two guys in the bar, and I get talking to them, and one of them was the owner of the Downtown Cocktail Room, and his name's Michael Cornthwaite. For anyone that's familiar with Vegas and downtown, they'll all know who Michael is. And another guy called Sam Cherry, who built Soho Lofts, the high-rise in downtown.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, "You're the two young guys involved in downtown?" And the three of us started meeting there every day, having drinks, and we were like, "How do we make downtown better?" That was all it was. It was just, but it gave me hope that there was a vision for what this area could now become, because there was no one down there
awesome.
just 2 years prior. And I saw an opportunity, and then I had the vision. 2 years before I didn't, but as a 23-year-old, I started seeing that this actually could become an area. And in London, everything is so established. Here, I felt like, yeah, I can make a difference here, and there's an opportunity.
What an exciting time to be. That's the foresight that he must have had to do that, because we all see the way downtown is now. It definitely has changed considerably since, at that point in time.
Yeah.
That foresight and that investment, I'm sure, paid off like tenfold. But
And patience. You got to
Yeah,
be patient.
and
It takes
patience.
time.
Yeah.
It wasn't an overnight success.
Yeah.
I think for me, the thing is that, it comes from that story is like the confidence, right? To be able to come into here, a new city, a new location, going into a new avenue, just fresh out of college, but to be able to establish that vision and come in and, deal with that excitement in a new market, and have the confidence to establish those relationships with new people. Like, what was kind of like inherent in you just from a conversation to make that move and really go all in on it? Like, that's a pretty intimidating mindset to be in at that time.
It is, but also as a 23-year-old, you have a lot less to lose.
Very true.
And I didn't know where it could go, and I've stuck by this mantra, which is you never know day to day how you don't think too far ahead. You take it day by day, you give it everything. And I saw this opportunity, and I thought, if I keep working at this, what could it become? Whereas I knew in London it was a very concrete path of what was available to me, whereas here it's like the last frontier, Vegas, and it still is to a degree. There's still so much opportunity here, but in other places you just don't have that. Here in many ways we're still creating a city. We're still defining a city. You look at what's happened here in the culture of Vegas and the development of it. It's unbelievable in the last decade. Downtown was the same thing, but it was an even it was more of a blank slate. There was just nothing there. And so, I think it did take courage, but I think that the biggest lesson to anyone really is it doesn't happen quickly, and you have to give it time to evolve. I see a lot of my friends and a lot of family that if they're not feeling like it's happening for them in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, they're jumping ship. What's next? Instant gratification, instant fame. It doesn't work that way. And this project keep in mind, in 2007 when I landed, that was July 2007. By the way, you don't know it, but you were celebrating my 16th anniversary with me in Vegas at the roof.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At the rooftop
Okay.
that day.
That's beautiful. Congrats
I
to
landed
you.
July 5th, 2007.
Okay.
So, but around November 2007 was the mortgage crisis and the big recession.
Yep.
That was the worst
Time to even be here.
3-4 years you could ever have been in Las Vegas.
Yep.
And my wife still says to me, "I can't believe you stuck through that time here." But I did believe that there was something here and an opportunity, but it was a rough time.
Yeah.
And actually that recession, which was terrible for everyone, afforded me the opportunity of learning those businesses in the worst times, because we had 6 casinos at the time and they were not doing well, plus all the real estate we had. So there was a lot of learning that I used that time to do.
I moved to Las Vegas in 2007.
Oh.
And what's even better for me is I know the downtown. So like, for example, a cut above the rest, a barbershop. I know the owners there. They've been off Carson and 7th since like 98, 99.
Still there.
Still there. Tim, Kurt, Mike Jones, I know all of them. They're great people. I was getting my hair cut from them starting in 2007, and I'm like, what is going on down here? Because it was rough, extremely rough. But I didn't know the backstory that you were just talking about, where you guys were meeting. I also wanted to piggyback on Tony Shea, what Tony Shea was doing, the downtown project. Were you guys part of that too? Just kind of having the insight to see what does the real estate look like and kind of have, your perspective and kind of insight and thoughts on that?
We're a big part of that. So 2007, we start meeting at Downtown Cocktail Room.
Okay.
2 years later, Tony comes along. He meets Michael Cornthwaite, and it was Downtown Cocktail Room that Tony fell in love with.
Okay.
That was his first insight into, wow, there's a community here that I hadn't felt in Vegas before.
Okay.
And we started hanging out with him on a regular basis, going to, we had, at the time, we had Firefly at the Plaza.
Oh, yeah. John's been on our shows. John's a great guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, John's great.
John's a great guy. We had
Yeah.
a Firefly back in like 2009. And so Tony started coming there, and we just became really good friends. He came to my wedding in South Africa. But what Tony did for downtown, and I say this a lot, is he gets a lot of praise or criticism, whatever you want to say. He brought a lot of attention to downtown. And what happened instantly, so those first 2 years that I was living down there, people would say to me, "Are you crazy? What are you doing down there? You're being harassed. You're being molested. Are you nuts? What are you doing there?" It was really like people couldn't get their head around it. And then 2 years later, when Tony started coming down there, and I would say, "Oh, I'm living downtown," they're like, "Oh, that's where Tony Hsieh's doing all this redevelopment." And people in New York started paying attention. People all over the country. This guy's he branded it as the startup as a city and all these things, and it was unbelievable the attention he brought to downtown.
Yeah, it's
It
amazing.
was great.
The Plaza Hotel, I think it was 1971, they were the biggest hotel in the world at that time, which tells you the vision of what was going on.
We didn't build the Plaza.
Okay,
The Plaza was built by Jackie Gorn and
okay.
Sam Boyd, Mel
Okay.
Exper, and Frank Scott.
Okay.
So they built the Plaza. Now Jackie Gorn, are you familiar with that name?
Yeah.
So his son is Michael Gorn, who built the South Point. He still owns the
Okay.
South Point. Jackie Gorn's probably the biggest legend in downtown history and one of the biggest legends in gaming, in my opinion. He really was the first guy who created culture in the casino industry, and he treated his teammates like his family. He would sit there every day and have lunch with the team. He was just a part of he was just a really good operator.
That's awesome.
And he built the Plaza, the Las Vegas Club, the Westin. So it was his portfolio. In fact, he built the Al Cortez and lived in the Al Cortez until he died.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to drop some
You know,
gems on this.
You know, it's kind of, you see these culture shifts that happen almost in phases in downtown. You know, when I first moved to Vegas in 2011, that's where I spent the majority of my time. I loved it. I loved the atmosphere. It was like a real local community environment. But then you kind of see it shifting with more like the institutional investors coming with like Circa, and you're getting a lot more of that, you know, strip, I would say
feel of it.
tourism that's
Yeah.
coming over there a little bit more. Do you feel like that kind of shift in the downtown culture is leaning more towards that like strip emulation, or are we going to be able to maintain that kind of local culture that's been there for the past, 10, 15 years?
No, I totally disagree. I think downtown's completely independent. If you look at all the operators, Circa actually is just privately owned, and their owner's very hands-on. He's downtown all the time. There's me, there's Golden Nugget, which is one guy, Tillman Fertitta. It's a massive company. Four Queens Binions are separately owned. So all the casinos, El Cortez is privately owned, Downtown Grand's privately owned. So all these casinos are very much, and then Boyd is the only one that's a corporation.
Got it.
But no, I think downtown's special for that exact reason.
Yeah,
People
that's
can
what I
walk
like.
from place to place, get to know people, meet people, and if that ever goes, it would be sad. And
Yeah.
but I don't think it's going to, because I think we all recognize that that's what makes us different. And if you look at downtown's growth over the last 10, 15 years, it's been outperforming the Strip in terms of growth. It's not outperforming the Strip by any measure,
By numbers
but
and
its
stuff, yeah.
growth is greater than the Strip's growth, which is a big boon to the area.
I would say it's definitely my favorite place to party, just to go out there, like you said, just to hang
Yeah.
out. Like the Strip is, like everybody's always moving somewhere to go somewhere. There you could just like
Yeah.
sit and people watch, which
Yeah.
I think is the most exciting part about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do down there.
There really is.
Lot of options that, there didn't exist 15 years ago.
For sure.
There,
Yeah.
there was a lot of good gambling and cheap food, but now there's actually good entertainment, good bars, good restaurants, so much to do.
That's excellent. Let's kind of talk about some of the enhancements you guys have done there. You guys have done some huge enhancements. From now, you guys got Pink Box inside there. You got Oscar Steakhouse there. The pickleball court, which I'm very disappointed I didn't get a chance to see that. But shout out to Colin Fukunaka from Fukuburger. He was the first person to tell me about it. But
Yeah.
I think he's there like every day playing. But let's talk about some of these enhancements that you guys were doing and to kind of bring people down there and obviously some of these franchises and stuff.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different things, but the concept is when I took over the Plaza as the CEO, I was 29 years old. It was 2015. And the idea was really that a lot of people thought it needs to be knocked down. It needs to be knocked down, rebuilt, and build something new. And I took a different approach. I felt like, no, we can actually piece by piece improve this place and really put it back on the map.
Yep.
And so we set about doing that. Obviously, 2011, there was the remodel with the Fountain Blue furniture when the Fountain
Oh,
Blue
that's right. Yeah, when they went
first
upside
one-
down the first time. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so we got all their furniture. So we did a big remodel then, but it didn't do very well. I think the management misunderestimated downtown in some ways. But the first thing we did was we redid the pool deck. And when we redid the pool deck, we put in these pickleball courts. And that was 2016. Now, today, pickleball's all the rage.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
In 2016, people
2016, the pickleball court was there?
told me, oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm embarrassed to even say that. I thought it was brand
No,
new.
you shouldn't be embarrassed.
Okay.
People told me, you're literally insane, Jonathan. What are you doing putting in a pickleball court? Makes no
This is
sense.
awesome.
What is pickleball?
Yeah, the fact you even
Why-
heard about
Yeah, pickleball. I didn't even know what pickleball was till about a year
To be
ago.
honest,
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was either in 2016. Some guy told me, what are you doing with those old tennis courts? I said, I don't know. No one plays on them ever. They're always empty. He said, you got to hear this thing called pickleball. So I started researching it. I went with him to see this place in Siena. And there was like 30 people playing pickleball. And he was like, it's going to become the biggest sport in America. And I was like, why? And he explained to me his concept. I said, I think you're right. I think you're onto something. I don't believe the biggest sport in America, but I think it's going to be big.
Yeah.
And the pandemic certainly helped pickleball take it to another level. But we put those 16 courts there, and so we own the Las Vegas Pickleball Open, which is a tournament that we had all the pros come and play in back in 18, 19, 20.
Oh, wow.
And it just started growing. And so we did the pool deck, we remodeled that. Then we did the convention floor, we remodeled that. Then we did another 150 rooms with brand new hotel rooms that are like a nice higher level product than we've ever had before. And then we opened the Sand Dollar. You're familiar with the Sand Dollar, the bar on Spring Mountain?
Yep.
So they opened a second one downtown with
Okay.
us. Sand Dollar is just a great bar, live music, pool tables, sort of a dark speakeasy kind of feel. More like a dive bar, I guess. And then we did, obviously, Oscar's Steakhouse is there. And then we did this idea of the front of the hotel used to be a driveway, and it was just empty real estate. And a friend of mine said, have you ever seen this bar in New Orleans called, it's called the Carousel Bar, but it's at the Montefiore Hotel.
Okay.
So I said, no, I've never been to New Orleans. I don't know what you're talking about. Started researching that, looked at it, and I was like, this would be perfect in the Porte Cochere. And get rid of the taxi cab line, because that doesn't make any money. And it's just annoying, because everyone tries to take videos and pictures under the lights. If you ever seen the music videos by The Weeknd or any of those, they're all filmed under the lights at the Plaza.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was like, let's build this bar right there. And so then we started planning this bar, but it was before the pandemic and it got delayed. But during that time, I started thinking, well, we can't just build the bar, we need to do more. And that's when the idea of Pink Box came around. They're good friends of mine, agreed to open the donut store on the one corner. And then we're in partnership with this YouTuber called Brian Christopher. He plays slot machines on YouTube.
Okay.
500,000 audience for each video. It's pretty unbelievable, actually. And so we partnered with him to create a smoke-free area, casino area, right on the other corner of the Carousel Bar. And above that is the outdoor patio of the steakhouse that you saw.
showed me. Okay, got it.
And that
Okay.
you saw, and that's when we looked down and saw the Carousel Bar.
Got it. Okay.
And so all of that just opened in June, about 3 months ago. So we've got this new toy, and now we're finishing the construction up, all the little issues that come along with that. But it's been great to have the front of the hotel open, all these new amenities, this new energy. And when you come to the end of Fremont Street and you see the giant pink donut, the Carousel Bar, it's where you want to be. It's not it's not really why we built it for Fremont Street. We built it because we wanted the amenities in the hotel. We have 1,000 rooms. We wanted those people to have a couple of bars to go to, the donuts, the coffee. So it's been a great addition.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, the CEO seems like a very daunting job, right? You're overseeing, you said 1,000 rooms. I'm sure countless, I don't know the number of employees, but I'm sure the number's up there. And especially in an environment like casino and hotel where every day is different. It's 24 hours. You're dealing with the authorities, the gambling. It just seems like a lot to have to navigate through. But then when it comes to these little nuanced decisions to try to grow the business on top of all of those things, what sort of like autonomy do you have to say, hey, I want a Pink Box here. I want a Carousel Bar here. Is there like, what is the process to get from point A to point B when you have the foresight to kind of implement some of those decisions?
So it's a great question. And we're really lucky because we don't have multiple investors and a board. We have one guy who's the guy who sent me out here in 2007. His name's Poyu Zabludovic. He was the guy who invested in downtown in 2005 and had that vision. And basically it's a call to him. And because he comes out here maybe twice a year, we have really a huge amount of autonomy. And to be fair to us, me and my team here, we've done well with it and we've proven ourselves, so that gives him more confidence in and us more credibility to execute. So when we have those ideas, and listen, Pink Box with that giant pink donut at the entrance got a lot of flack from me because a lot of people said, you're crazy, what are you doing, you're going to ruin the integrity of these famous lights and the history and the culture. But I just thought it would blend perfectly and create this energy and
Yeah.
feeling in the front of the
Yeah.
hotel that, although a little risky, would be something that people would gravitate towards. And so we have that autonomy. Now, it's one of the reasons why we're successful in recruiting people, because a lot of people get frustrated at bigger properties that they have an idea, it has to go through 15 layers, the corporate this, the general counsel that, then to the board. For us, it's really simple. It's me and a close-knit group of people, and we make those decisions, and then we move pretty quickly if we like it.
Yeah, I think that's
that.
like a huge
Yeah.
benefit, especially in an area like downtown, because it gives you nimbleness. Like it gives you the ability to rapidly change, to kind of adapt to the times a little bit. And I see that just seems invaluable for where that area is kind of heading towards.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I love all these visions too. There's what we've been able to put together. And were you part of bringing the rodeo down? Is that from my understanding? It was kind of your spearheading that?
No, listen, like pickleball as well. I can't
Okay.
take credit for it. Rodeo to me
Okay.
is the most amazing event in Las Vegas. The
Okay.
2 weeks in December, whether you like rodeo or not, the 2 weeks in December are mind blowing. What happens here, the amount of business the NFR brings to this town, and it was a dead period without it. So we were always really slow in December. And I would say, well, how's everyone else busy? And they had the rodeo events. So we started sponsoring Las Vegas events, which is a subsidiary of the LVCVA, and they host the events. And they host all the big events that come to Las Vegas,
Okay.
like EDC and that kind of stuff, NASCAR. So they do NFR, and I said, well, how do we get involved? And they said, you have to sponsor us. So we sponsored them, and absolutely nothing happened. And I was like, guys, that wasn't very. That was a waste of money.
Yeah.
Like, well, you need to know how to activate. I was like, I'm English. I know nothing about rodeo.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want me to do?
I don't know anything about rodeo
Yeah,
either.
same,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like, so that's how,
But
that's
it's
how
here
I
in
felt.
December.
Yeah.
So then they sent me this girl that worked for them, and she sits down and she starts talking, and she's from like Okeechobee, and she basically she came to be known as the rodeo queen to me, and she taught me what little there is to know about rodeo. She taught me, so a little I know, she taught me, and she convinced me to build this arena, and that if I built the arena, she could fill it with all these other events. And I was like, you're crazy, but I'll take a shot, because I needed the rodeo and I wanted to believe it could be good. And now we have an arena, and we have all these rodeo events, and it's pretty amazing. You're gonna have to come to the rodeo in December.
Yeah.
I put
Yeah,
my
that'd be
son.
pretty cool.
I put my son when he was 5 years old on a mutton busting. They ride the sheep.
Oh yeah, I think
The
I
little
see that.
kids ride the sheep. It's crazy.
Don't tell my kids. You know my kids are all over that. So
Yeah, no, they'll be
over
into that. They'll be into
Yeah.
that. But again, firstly, it's this idea that I promise you, there's not a single person in the world in England who could do what I did. You just can't build a rodeo arena in the middle of a downtown and start doing horses and bulls and all
Yeah.
these events. And there we are doing it. So that it's this idea that you have the freedom and the ability to try new things, and whether it's pickleball, rodeo, I love bingo. These are things that I didn't think I'd ever, but they're great businesses, and they're a good way to differentiate.
Yeah, I really enjoyed bingo. That's a big seller for me, for sure.
You all over the bingo. I knew he was going to say that. Yeah.
The 2 free
What-
drink coupons. I'm
For
ready to
real,
go.
yeah.
We do super bingo. It's my favorite time of year.
Oh, really?
2 days every month.
Okay.
About 800 people come and play bingo. Mostly 70-year-old ladies playing
Chris will
bingo.
be there.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he'll
I'll
be
be there
there.
here
Yeah,
and
we all
I
over
by
there.
all the people when I win. Every time I play bingo, and if I win, I get like, look what everybody's giving me the mean.
And talking smack too, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta come play.
I gotta check that out. So, what's been like your biggest obstacle just being the CEO of a hotel like Plaza?
I mean, the growth downtown has just been so great that would have been in the early days. It was overcoming that. It was telling everyone that, hey, downtown's not that same place, and there is so much more to do here, and convincing people to give it a try. But now I feel like I don't have to do that anymore, because thanks to the help of whether it's Tony Shea or Circa, the mayor Oscar, who's our partner in the steakhouse, or his wife now, who's the current mayor, they've done such a great job of championing downtown that it's made it much easier. But in the early days, that was by far the biggest challenge, convincing not just customers but people to work there.
Yeah.
When you got to hire executives, they're like, do I really want to give up my nice safe job at Wynn or MGM and go to
Take the
downtown?
risk,
and,
yeah.
and so that was the risk, but now everyone wants to be a part of it. So it sort of doesn't really answer your question, but we've overcome that challenge, because now everyone wants to get involved in downtown, and we call it the 12-year overnight success.
You said 12-year overnight success.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
You motivated, Jonathan. I love
Yeah.
talking with you, man. Just hearing these stories of history and things along those lines, man, and being able to execute is amazing, because it's hard to execute a lot of times. But
Yeah.
with us being a business podcast, I'm just curious what your perspective is on business advice. What would you tell somebody that's not ready to take that risk that wants to maybe build their own business or maybe do, walk the path of you of being a CEO and running a huge company?
I think I mentioned it earlier on, but it's this idea of patience. When I started out, I remember there was nights where I would, as a 24, 25-year-old, I would stand in the plaza at the entrance doors, and I would just watch when people came in. What was their first impression? What are they seeing? What signage are they seeing? What's the first slot machine they see? What's the first lights that they see? What's the energy that they're feeling as they walk in? We talked about this before we went on air.
Yeah.
But energy is everything. You know what I mean? You got to keep that energy, and you can never. The minute you get too complacent or too arrogant, and you stop having that energy, you stop listening to good ideas, and you stop seeing new things. So, so to me, it was just this idea of patience and waiting for those opportunities to materialize. Now, obviously, there's a cutoff point to that. Don't wait forever.
Yeah.
But I just think too many people quit too early at things, and it does take time for things to manifest and to evolve. And things do evolve, and opportunities present themselves, and then you become an expert in that field. And then when that opportunity presents itself, now you're ready for it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and honestly, I mean, for all listeners, Vegas is the best place to people watch, hands down. So to be able to learn that, you can learn.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We owned the casino where soccer is today. We used to call the Las Vegas Club. The people watching in there was insane.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was pretty special.
Katie with a badge. Yeah. So just kind of transition a little bit. We always talk about restaurants. So what was, and I'll bring your wife involved in this too. What's your favorite restaurant in Vegas when you're not eating at the Plaza?
When I'm not at Oscars?
When you're not at Oscars, yeah.
I go to Public Us at least once or twice. Public Us.
Public Us.
It's a coffee shop in downtown for breakfast. For usually breakfast and coffee. I'm at Public Us.
Okay, Public Us. I don't think I've had anybody say that. Yeah.
Yeah,
my wife's sort of shaking her head in the background. She's been there before.
No,
so,
you've been there?
Yeah. Oh, I've been there and I didn't realize it. Yeah, so
it's well, it can't be that good then.
I'm called out. I'm getting called out. I forgot.
No, Public Us is on Maryland and Fremont Street. Now, if you had the guts to do what they did 7 years ago, you deserve the shout out on the podcast. I mean, to open up there was ballsy. I go to Esther's Kitchen a lot.
Esther's is great.
I'm sure you've had that one.
Esther's is very good.
I'm sure you've had that one.
Actually, we just went there just recently. We had lunch there. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Esther's Kitchen. Yeah.
It's great. And then I mean, all the usual staples on the strip. You got to go to SW if you're going for ambiance with steak mixed together. I gotta keep it downtown.
Yeah. What else are you concentrating on and maybe finishing up 2023 and maybe next year?
Well, getting these projects completed was the big undertaking. One of my biggest accomplishments in Vegas was getting rid of the Greyhound bus station. That used to be downtown. So I got a key to the city from the mayor for getting rid of the bus station. It was the #1 crime spot in the city for about 2 decades straight.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
#1 call from Metro was that area. So getting rid of that out of downtown was a big deal. And so we now have that space. I don't know where you parked when you came down for the fireworks show.
They hooked me up in the front. They let me park right on the side there.
So right next to that.
I used your name. I'm not going to lie. So I'm here to meet Jonathan. So.
right next to that is the old Greyhound bus station. And that's about 18,000 square feet of empty space that we're going to develop, and it's about an acre and a half of parking lot.
Okay.
And then we have another 10 acres next to it. The plaza sits on 17 acres total.
Wow.
So there's a lot of development opportunity down there, but I'm really focused on these new projects we just finished, and then putting the plaza where it deserves to be. One of the things with the fireworks that it
was awesome.
We did we went up on the roof. We did the countdown with the kids.
Yeah.
And everyone says to me, "Why do you love fireworks so much?" Because I do love fireworks. And there was a time in about 2017, 2018, I was doing fireworks about 6-7 times a year. Now I can't do it as much because Cirque is a little close to us, so they don't want any stray fireworks, which I appreciate. But it was interesting because the way I could explain it to someone, I've never really told people this, but I'll share it with you guys here, is because I'm South African. When you're on safari, when the lions come into their territory, they roar to let the other lions know that they're here, this is their area. So when someone says to me, "Why are you doing the fireworks?" It's to let everybody know the plaza's still here, because for many years the plaza was forgotten. So now they all hear the noise of the fireworks, like, "Oh, there goes the plaza again." And so we were doing it 6-7 times a year. Now we're doing it 3 times a year: New Year's Eve, July 4th, and a few special occasions.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
a good story. That's an amazing story, man.
But yeah, that's my focus, is putting the plaza where it deserves to be in downtown.
Well, I applaud you, man. When you just, piggybacking off what you said about the 4th of July, I mean, it's amazing. They really do a good show. I'm not just saying that because you invited. It was fun. It was really fun. My kids and family enjoyed it. So
Thank you.
Great
Thank you for
stuff.
being there.
Definitely support, what Jonathan's doing down at the Plaza and his team. But definitely make sure to check out all the restaurants and pickleball and everything that they're doing. Where can people reach out to you? What's like your social handles at the Plaza and all that good stuff?
Well, there's at Plaza Las Vegas
Yep.
on Instagram, Twitter, and I'm at Jonathan Jossel on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook must be Plaza Las Vegas, although I don't have a Facebook.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, absolute pleasure to hang out with you,
Yeah,
man,
that's
and just be able to pick
fantastic.
your brain for a little bit. And we support you, and we got to keep bringing you back, man, and give us updates on what you guys are doing.
Thank
So,
you.
visionary.
Anytime. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
So
you for
appreciate it.
having
Check
me.
us out at thevigorstore.com and make sure you subscribe with us, man. So thanks a lot.